All right, we're going to use a couple of good SAT big picture ideas for this question. First and foremost, we've got a problem right off the bat. No line reference. And this was a dense science passage. In this question, an unstated assumption made by the authors about the clover, I'd really rather not have to just sift through all this science and try to understand an unstated assumption. Like how is that even possible that I can find a line reference about an unstated assumption? This is just not good from the start. However, remember, we have the chronology rule, so at least that'll give us something to think about. The passage is supposed to generally be in the order of where the answers are in the line. So if question 49, it doesn't have a line reference, we can go back. Question 50 is about a chart, so that doesn't really help us at all. But question 48, the one before this one, told us to look at 42 to 50. Now, for the sake of being inclusive, if that told me 42 to 50, I would start there. Now, some people might say, oh, well, I'm going to start at 50 instead, and then it'll be down here. I don't think that that's how the chronology rule works. There's a lot of overlap sometimes. So for, the sake of being safe, you should include everything that would fall in with that line reference. And we also do have one other benefit here, and that is that the word clover does not appear very often in the passage, and it does appear here, clover. So that's step one. Now we know where to look. That's a big SAT idea. The chronology rule helps us. The second piece, though, is something we've used a lot in this passage. Don't try to understand more science than is absolutely necessary to get the question. Okay, so we don't need to completely get it. We just need to get it a little bit. So what is the dumb summary version of what's going on here? This hypothesis can best be tested by a trial wherein a small number of commercial honeybee colonies are offered a number of pyrethrum-producing plants, as well as a typical bee food source such as clover, while controls are offered only the clover. Okay, so what's the contrast here? Yes, we're talking about the clover, but we're also talking about the pyrethrums. So the dumbest summary of what's going on is that the clover has something to do with the pyrethrums. Okay? You might know what it is, and knowing what a control is in an experiment, I do think is important, and it does help us. But let's just kind of be as dumb as possible for now. Choice A seems pretty good, because it's also talking about pyrethrums. Now, I don't know what this is all about, but it doesn't seem related to what's going on here. I don't even know what that is, so that doesn't seem relevant. They are usually located near wild-type honeybee colonies. That may be true if they're eating it, but I just don't really know. Remember, my dumbest version here is that some bees are being fed clovers, and others are being fed clovers and pyrethrum. So the pyrethrum seems to matter. That does not have to do with the location. And they will not be a good food source for honeybees in the control colonies. Well, I don't really know. All I know is that they talked about pyrethrums, and only one choice talks about pyrethrums. So I should probably pick that choice. And that is the answer. And that would be good enough. You would be confident. You should be confident enough in that choice to just move on to the next question. I will explain, though, what's going on here. A control in an experiment is the thing without the variable, right? So what they're trying to do here is they're trying to understand how pyrethrums affect these bees and the mites, okay? So what they're going to do is they're say, okay, let's give some bees pyrethrums and other bees no pyrethrums. But we have to feed the bees something because otherwise the bees will die, right? So we're going to give some bees the pyrethrums and some clover, which I guess they like, and other bees will just get the clover. So what's going to happen is you'll have some bees that have eaten pyrethrums and others that won't, and then we're going to give them both a mite infestation and see what happens, okay? So the control is this kind of baseline. It's meant to be like the normal situation. And so it must be the case that the clover does not produce pyrethrums. Otherwise, there would be no difference between these two groups, the control and the experimental, right? So that's the variable, the pyrethrums. That's the thing we're trying to measure. So we can't allow that to sneak in to the control group, right? The control group has no pyrethrums, and so the clover then must have no pyrethrums. It is just this bland plant that the bees eat. Hopefully that makes sense. I do think that understanding what a control is actually really important for a lot of science passages, because when they describe an experiment, that's a key piece, and they don't always say that. They kind of do assume that you understand that, and I think it would help us here, but we can kind of get by with just this very basic understanding of just like pyrethrums seem to matter, so we're going to pick the choice about pyrethrums, and you know what, honestly, I'm fine with that on most SATs, so that's why dumb summaries work. Keep it dumb, you're going to get the answer right most of the time anyway.